After having a 3-game losing streak, the Chicago Cubs answer back Wednesday with a resounding victory. Will this lead to more on Thursday? Let's talk about it. Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of Chicago Cubs Central. This is your number one spot for all things Chicago Cubs. I am your host, Mike Jones. Appreciate each and every last one of you for tuning in to this episode. Thank you for hanging out with me today. Guys, listen, the Chicago Cubs, they were floundering. They were almost all but written for dead. Everybody, after every negative loss, has something negative to say. Well, the Chicago Cubs went into St. Louis with Matthew Boyd on the bump on Wednesday and took care of business. No other way to put it, no other way to shout it out. The Chicago Cubs did exactly what they needed to do. They handed the Cardinals their ass, and that's exactly what we wanted to see. Matthew Boyd did not give up a single run. The bullpen, the back end of the bullpen, did not give up a single run. You saw Porter Hodge, Michael Fulmer, you saw Ryan Brazier, and like I said, these guys were led by our pick to perform player of the game, Matthew Boyd, who pitched 6 innings, 6 shutout innings, did not allow one single run. Also, at the same time, covered the Chicago Cubs with 3 strikeouts, a bunch of outs, 6 innings pitched. Like I said, 2 walks in the game. And yeah, man, just fascinating way to handle the game and the baseball and to shut these hot Cardinals down. The Cardinals that was a part of the teams that faced Chicago Cubs that the Cubs did not that the Cubs allowed 51 runs against. There was no reason to worry here. The Chicago Cubs took care of business, point blank. Matthew Boyd is your pick to perform player of the game. And as always, guys, we have to fly the W. That's right. The Chicago Cubs did course correct. You got home runs from Ian Happ. First pitch he saw, he hit into the right field bleachers for the Chicago Cubs. And then after that, the Chicago Cubs were off to the races. It's all Cubs, whole game long. Bush single to right. Single to center that scored Swanson. And then after that, McGuire homered his 5th homer of the season. Bush scored off of that. And then Tucker homered in the 3rd, his 16th home run on the season. Very close to getting his 20th also. Happ single to the right. Bush scored and Shaw scored on that. And then Shaw grounded into a fielder's choice. And Swanson scored on that. The Chicago Cubs took care of business. Now we move forward. Because tomorrow is the next biggest important game in the Chicago Cubs young season. That's right. We have the Cubs versus the St. Louis Cardinals. We will be able to, if we're able to pull out this victory, we are able to once again push the Cardinals back and keep those Brewers at bay. This game will feature Shota Imanaga, who will be pitching for the first time since May 4th. I am super excited. This game is a 1:15 start time on Thursday. The Chicago Cubs will be ready to go, hopefully ready to back up Shota Imanaga, hopefully ready to give him the run support that he needs, and hopefully this team will be ready to execute, because that's what it's going to take for the Chicago Cubs to have victory. And I think they're very capable of doing so. They showed so today. Going for the St. Louis Cardinals will be Andre Palante, who is 5-3 with a 4.48 ERA, a 1.31 WHIP, and with 82 innings pitched. So we will see what happens and what comes of it. But the Chicago Cubs, man, they have an opportunity to even up this series and to keep these teams that are cowering above them or around them at bay. The Milwaukee Brewers stay at 2.5 games out from the Chicago Cubs, and we push the St. Louis Cardinals back to 3.5 games behind the Chicago Cubs for that first place spot. So again, like I said, it is really all about it's really all about what you can do with the Chicago Cubs. Then after that, it doesn't get any easier, y'all. We go to Houston. We go to H-Town after this, who literally have the same record as us right now. They are 47-33 on the season, just like the Chicago Cubs. It's going to be a tough series. They are a great home team. They have 29 wins at home. They have 20 losses away from home. So, like I said, the Houston Astros do not play necessarily the best away from home. It will be interesting to see what they decide to do against the Chicago Cubs. But again, like I said, it will be fun to watch. We will have fun watching these games coming up. It's going to be a fun weekend of baseball. One thing, like I said, we got to say about Matthew Boyd. Matthew Boyd and the offense helped preserve the bullpen for the biggest game of the 2025 season thus far tomorrow in St. Louis. Like I said, with as many concerns as we have over Shota Imanaga and how much he'll be able to pitch and how far he'll be able to go, listen, our bullpen is completely intact. We got Thielbar, we got the rest of the guys. The Chicago Cubs will be able to handle business. And hopefully Shota Imanaga is a gamer and he's ready to go tomorrow as well. Like I said, definitely want to give a shout out to Matthew Boyd, though. 6 strong, scoreless innings. The Chicago Cubs starting pitching, Jameson Taillon, Colin Ray, and Ben Brown have all struggled with giving up home runs. But the Chicago Cubs did do what they needed to do, and they took care of business with Matthew Boyd on the bump. He was consistent. He was there, and it was what the Chicago Cubs needed. So, also, like I said, with that being said, there's even more reason to be excited with the poor reports from Bruce Levine, with the reports from Bob Nightingale, that Chicago Cubs have also called in and talked with the Pirates. The Chicago Cubs have also called in and talked with the Miami Marlins. So, hey, guess what? Not only are we going to celebrate a win by flying the W, that's right. Every time Chicago Cubs win a victory, we fly the W on the Chicago Cubs Central Channel. But we also got to talk about the fact that Chicago Cubs could be up for some big trades. Right, that's right. Help is on the way, guys. A mock trade that I have seen come across says the Marlins, first deals with the Miami Marlins. Owen Casey, Jonathan Long, Jack Neely, Brett Bateman for Sandy Alcantara. Now, remember, when you look at Sandy Alcantara, he is an ace-type pitcher. He is coming back into form. He's figuring things out, and you have him for 3 years. You have 3 years of Sandy Alcantara being at the leading start of your starting rotation. And that's Sandy, that's Justin Steele returning next year, that's still having Shota Imanaga, still having Matthew Boyd, and then you can also make a decision what you want to do with Jameson Taillon or other pitchers. So, yeah, I mean, we'll have to see what there is about that. That is definitely a trade option that the Chicago Cubs could look to have success with. The Chicago Cubs also talked with the Pirates today about Mitch Keller, about adding Mitch Keller. So you expect the Chicago Cubs to be able to add not only one, but probably 2 starting pitchers to this starting rotation so they can go on the playoff run. Again, like I said, it will be amazing to see what the Chicago Cubs could do with this. So my question to you guys for this episode, which one would you want? Would you want Sandy Alcantara? Would you want Mitch Keller? Would you want both of them? Also, I believe I was seeing some I was seeing some other trade news about the Chicago Cubs potentially doing a trade for another pitcher from Miami too. So the Cubs have their hands in a lot of different places, and it's going to be interesting to see who they actually end up with. But I'm excited, y'all, and you should be too. You should be back on the train if you jumped off the train. If you've never jumped off the train, then keep your tickets, stay on the train, because Chicago Cubs are figuring it out, and we're going to get better. We're going to get better. It's only going to get better from here. So keep your heads up. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Chicago Cubs Central. Remember, you can join in on the conversation, leaving me a voicemail at 217-816-5498 or at cubsbaseball1992@gmail.com. Do not forget, anytime news breaks, I will have a live episode or a short up for you, depending on if I'm at work or not. And then we'll do an episode in long form that night. Like I said, we're getting close to the trade deadline. So as the trade deadline comes and these trades start coming in, I expect Chicago Cubs to be very active, and you should too. We're going to have fun. It's going to be exciting, and we're going to add on so that we can make a push for the playoffs and potentially the World Series. I thank you guys so much. Remember, until next time, go Cubs, go. Peace.
Thank you for watching another episode of Chicago Cubs Central, the #1 spot for all Chicago Cubs content. Remember to like, share, subscribe for more Cubs content.